Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel, and a very warm welcome if you're new. Phew! It's been a while since I did a full doll custom on the channel, hasn't it? What do you say we tackle one of those today? I've teamed up with my cousin, bestie, and podcast partner, BellaFae, for a super fun magical girl collab. It's something I've been promising to put on my channel for a while now, and I've finally gotten around to doing it. So here it is. Bella and I are both big fans of Tokyo Mew Mew. We've been watching it since we were kids, and when the new reboot came out this year, we decided to make the original Tokyo Mew Mew the theme of our collab. Bella has been busy making and releasing a whole bunch of awesome videos on her channel, and I decided I wanted to make a doll of my favorite character, Ichigo, the strawberry Mew. I've always loved Ichigo. She's so funny, and I'm a sucker for how pink she is. She's also the first Mew to join the team, so it's only fitting that I should start with her. I'm going to make Ichigo in her magic girl outfit, complete with tail and cat ears. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to give her Asian features since she is a Japanese character, and keep her darker pink hair. So since I already made those changes, I decided to incorporate some green in her design too. My take on her reboot, if you will. Now, I know what you're thinking. Anna, did you not make a pink cat girl just the other day? Well, yeah, but this is different. To give her that anime-esque appearance, I'll be deviating from my usual Monster High dolls, and using Holly from Ever After High instead. As with most of my base dolls, this one has been very well loved. She has received a rather avant-garde haircut, and has some slight staining on her nose and chin. Other than that though, she's in really good condition. I also think she has the right skin tone for Ichigo. So, without further ado, off to the work table! I start by removing her factory face-up with some 100% pure acetone. With these older dolls, it usually comes off pretty easily, and this way I have a nice clean canvas to work with. Then I cut her hair as close to the scalp as I possibly can, before dunking her in some freshly boiled water to soften the vinyl of the head. Then I can yank the head from the neck bag and set her aside to dry in a bowl of rice with some other dolls I was working on. Once dry, I take this metal cuticle tool and scrape around on the inside of her scalp to pull out the hair plugs. This doll was particularly stubborn for some reason. Eventually, when all the hair and glue is inside the head, you can go in with a tweezer to pull it out. This is probably my least favorite part. Since she's going to get pink hair, I'm not really sure why I bothered to wipe the paint off her scalp, but I used some acetone to remove it anyway. There we go, all clean. Before putting her head back on her body, I'm going to reroot her. I'm going to try something new today and use Viscose fibers I bought from Viscose Heaven. I'm using the color Pomegranate, which is a gorgeous dark pink. Since she'll have a bob, I preemptively cut the long hank into two shorter hanks, thinking it might make it easier to work with. Then I separate a small bunch from one of them. I'm using my homemade rerooting tool, which is just a needle cut at an angle and held by a hand drill. I'm doing my best to keep it tidy by holding down the hank when I separate a strand, before putting it on my tool and smushing it into the head. It did inevitably get tangled, which is why it helps to work with small bits at a time. This fiber is also really fragile, and I could see it breaking sometimes. It's super soft and fine though, which almost makes it worth the hassle. At this point, I realized that she needed a fringe, so I marked where I wanted it to be before rerooting all around the front hairline. And then I remembered she needed ears, which I should have done long before rerooting. So I mossed off the hair with some cling wrap and stabbed 2 pins in the head where I thought the ears should go. Because I already started her reroot, I wanted to work quickly, so I took some heat moldable plastic I had left over from previous projects, and threw some chunks into boiling water. It's a really neat medium to work with because it becomes clear and softens when it's exposed to heat, so you can sculpt with it. It cools quickly though, so you can't really get a whole lot of detail with it, but it's perfect for her ears. I sculpt them on top of the pins, trapping them inside the ears, and leave them to cool off. Once cooled, they turn to a hard white plastic again, and I can mark the spots on her head where they'll be, so that I can avoid those areas while rerooting. I root thoroughly around the rest of the hairline and cut her hair shorter before continuing with the rest of the head. I think I rooted her hair a little bit too thick, so it's kind of poofy, but I still think it looks cute. Now I can squirt some all-purpose tacky glue in through the neck hole and squish the head to make sure all the plugs are covered on the inside. While that dries, I move back to her ears. I'm using some acrylic paint to give them a base layer of pink on the inside and black on the outside, the way they are in my concept art. But I really wanted fluffy ears, so I'm going to make yarn wefts. To do this, I use some 100% acrylic yarn in black and pink. I cut lengths of yarn about twice as long as I want the weft to be, and tie them around a small metal coat hanger like this. Then I use my pet brush to comb them out, starting at the bottom of the weft and working my way up. Eventually, I get fibers like these. To make them more smooth and silky, I use my hair straightener on a low setting and go over them a few times. Then to make the wefts, I lay down a sheet of plastic and cut the fibers from the hanger. I make sure they're straight and evenly dispersed. Then lay down a ruler before blobbing some white glue on the tips of the wefts. Then I just use my finger to spread the glue and remove the ruler before setting it aside to dry. Once dry, I can use some all-purpose tacky glue to attach the wefts to the ears. I place the first weft in the opposite direction than the hair growth, so that it can make a nice clean edge on the ear, and do the same with the pink wefts. Then I start gluing upwards facing wefts from the tip of the ear until I reach the bottom. When the whole ear is covered, I flip that last layer of wefts upward and use a heated metal butter knife to set them in place. Now all that's left is to give them a trim and a style with some hairspray, and I'm left with two cute floofy ears. I chose a few bits and bobs for her dress and made her this pattern off camera. I wanted to make a really high quality garment with pink on the outside and green lining on the inside, so I cut out all the pieces twice. I sewed the pink layer and sewed that to the green layer, and it came out looking like a weird octopus. So, to heck with that. I used the same pattern to sew a dress from black faux leather because I didn't have any pink. And I'm thinking that maybe the stiffness of the fabric and the fact that it doesn't need to be hemmed will lend itself better to my design. I think it came out really cute. To make it pink and green though, I taped her up and painted the dress with some acrylic paints while it was on her body. Perhaps not the most elegant solution, but it did stay flexible and it never cracked, so I think it's good enough. I also added some felt to the top to mimic lace. For her little arm puffs, I cut a strip of pink felt and sewed a ribbon to it. Then I gathered a bigger ribbon to make a basic puff sleeve and attached that to the felt piece. She also needs a tail, so I bent a piece of wire to the right length, twisting it around for extra strength, and wrapped it in some masking tape. I also drilled a hole in her back big enough for the tail to attach. Then I just made the tail in a similar way as the ears by making wefts, gluing them around the wire in one direction, and trimming it. The way I make socks is actually super easy. I cut a rectangle of fabric that's the length I want the sock to be, and pin it to her leg with wrong sides facing out. Then I just sew along the length of her leg right up against the plastic. And once that's done, you just need to trim away the excess fabric, flip it around, and boom! Sock! For her skirt, I folded a strip of sheer fabric that I don't know the name of, and filled it with pom-poms before gathering it and added a waistband. At first I used this clip closure thingy, but I ended up changing it for a snap closure later. She needs some little pink gloves, so I painted her hands a soft pink color with acrylic paints. And while I had my paint out, I also painted the lower half of her torso pink in case it peeks out from under her dress. To protect the paint from chipping, I cover everything in a few layers of Liquitex matte varnish. I decided to try some of the Pratley Frogz eggs again to make her shoes, so I put her socks on, since she'll be wearing them under the shoes, and covered her legs in cling foam and then masking tape. I also marked about where I want the boots to end. Then I softened the plastic in some boiling water again, and sculpted some basic shoe bases onto her feet, which you can't see because I was out of frame. I'm sorry. Once they cooled enough to become solid again, I used some more of the plastic to sculpt the toe of the boots. I double-checked that they had a nice snug fit with the masking tape, and that they would be a little loose without the tape so that there's space to add fabric later. Then I paint them a pretty dark pink color. The texture still looked a little rough, so off camera I covered them in some UV resin. For the boot itself, you'll need pattern pieces kind of like this. These differ for every shoe, so I tend to just eyeball them each time, but I cut them out of a dark pink felt and sewed the two back pieces of each shoe together. I then used some tacky glue to secure the pieces inside the shoe bases. First the body of the shoe and then the tongue, all the while making sure that her feet fit snugly inside. To finish them up, I crisscrossed some pink embroidery thread to act as laces. This is a very simple way to make shoes, but I think they came out really cute. I made her a few more accessories off camera, and with that, the outfit is done. Now we can move on to my favorite part, repainting the face. I start by spraying her with 2 coats of sealant, wearing a respirator mask of course, and give her some pink blushing with soft pastels around her eyes, nose, and chin. If you find that your blushing is too harsh or too dark, you can go in with a kneaded eraser to take it down a notch. I also add some pink soft pastels to her lips. Once I was happy with her blushing, I gave her another spray of sealant and started drawing the basic shapes of her features with a light brown watercolor pencil. I'm going for Asian features, so I'm referencing a lot of real faces off screen. I also darken her lip lines and sketch out where I want her eyebrows to be. I want her to look determined, like she's in the middle of a fight with an alien or something. When I'm happy with the shapes, I go ahead and add some color to her lips with a red pencil, some dark pink around her irises, and some brown to her eyelids. From there on, I just darken the colors and add details like shading in her eyes, some lip creases, and individual eyebrow hairs. Whenever it feels like the colors won't build anymore, I take her outside for another coat of sealant. Eventually, I sharpen my black pencil and hesitantly add her eyeliner and lashes. I also draw in her pupils and add some blue pastels to some areas of her face, a tip I picked up from Jackie O, to add dimension to her skin. At this point, I was running low on sealant, so I decided to switch to paint. I used my thinnest brush and some watered-down acrylic paint to darken the black, brighten her sclera, and add highlights to her skin. As a final touch, I used a dotting tool to add some cute round catch lights in her eyes. To finish her face, I used some Liquitex matte varnish on her eyes and gloss varnish on her lips. Now all that's left is to style her hair. I unleash it from its burrito prison and use my pet brush to gently comb out any tangles. I sprayed the section of hair that will become her fringe with some water, thinking it would make it easier to cut. But Viscose acts differently than yarn hair and it just got tangly, so don't do this. I panicked and ended up doing the rest of her hair styling off camera. Forgive me. But with that, my rendition of Ichigo is done. So, what do you think? I'm really happy with how she came out. I actually finished her a good few months back and only now got round to making the video. And I'd forgotten how many speed bumps there were along the way. So, I'm really proud of her. She's also my very first ever after Idol, so that was really fun. I made her a little Masha because you can't have Ichigo without her fluffy companion. Let me know if you want to see how I did that. Have you watched the new Tokyo Mew Mew? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. Be sure to check out BellaFae's channel for all her awesome Tokyo Mew Mew content. And if you liked this video, please consider showing your support by giving it a good old-fashioned thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. I recently passed 500 subs and I'm working my way up to the next big milestone. If you want to, you can also support my content by buying me a coffee on Ko-Fi. Sometime soon, I'll be releasing a really exciting video to celebrate reaching 500 subs, and it's gonna be great! So if you don't want to miss that when it comes out, boop that subscribe button, stick around, and as always, stay golden! I'll see you next time! Bye! To finish her face, I used some Liquitex? No.